what plagues you is the Lamia.
Lamia, that's the word the old woman used.
The black goat, only summoned by gypsies for their darkest deeds. For the first 3 days, the Lamia appears as a nasty spirit that torments its victim. After that, it reveals itself to be a taker of souls, and comes for the owner of the accursed object. Who now inhabits the body of Shansandina? Lamia, what is it you desire?
I desire the soul of Kristen Brown. We will feast upon it as she festers on the brave.
No! It was my manager, Jim Jacks! He was the one...
Silence!
Hello, and welcome to Comic Book Bears Presents, The Bear Cave of Terror. I'm your hairy, heavy homo and horror fan host, Steve Morey. Each week here in the Bear Cave, I invite a horror-loving guest who brings with them one of their favorite scary movies. It can be classic, gory, trashy, obscure, slimy as hell, or something still banned in Britain. In other words, a thrilling work of cinematic terror that we think you might enjoy. In each episode, we'll dig into the flesh and bone of the film, highlighting our favorite scary moments, as well as stories and details from beyond the screen, all while a guest imparts their deep and possibly concerning love for this week's frightful vision unto you, our dear listener. And joining me once again in the Bear Cave of Terror is Casey Kelderman. Casey, welcome back.
Hey, thank you for welcoming me back and taking me out of the basement into the Bear Cave.
Yes. And so Screams from the Basement, which is definitely, one of my favorite podcasts. I listen to you guys all the time. I am surprised that this is a movie that you have not covered, but there's a very good reason for that.
But don't worry, I've tried. I've tried many times. Let's just say my co-host, Sam Lentz, who I love dearly, when we agree on movies, we agree on movies. As you might have heard last time we were on Bear Cave of Terror, Chopping Mall, one of the greatest movies of all time, one of our shared favorites. Love that movie. But when we disagree on a movie, boy, do we disagree on a movie. Looking at you, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. When we disagree, we disagree. Drag Me to Hell is unfortunately one of those movies where we just don't see eye to eye on this one. We just don't. I personally love it. Of course, that's why I wanted to bring this one onto the Bear Cave. And Sam was very happy that now we don't have to cover it on Screams from the Basement. So thank you, Steve, from myself and Sam for that.
No, thank you, because this is, it's definitely fun to talk about movies that are or can be divisive. I know this one happened to be a big hit for 2009 at a time when horror movies were kind of going through an interesting period in the late 2000s. But this was kind of a unique movie. It was not part of a franchise. It was a return to form for a particular director. And it just kind of didn't really have even a lot of big names attached to it. But it was just a hit right out the gate. Maybe some of that was due to the rating, but also it seemed to really appeal with a really big amount of the potential audience there. And again, we're talking about Drag Me to Hell, came out in 2009, directed by Sam Raimi, who you might know best from Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2, possibly Spider-Man 3. Those are his biggest hits, and he hasn't done anything before or after.
Never.
That you might know.
Not any other superhero movies, no horror movies, just those Spider-Man movies.
Absolutely. And, that's why most horror fans have never heard of him before this movie. So, I'm being facetious. But, he hadn't been doing horror for quite some time.
Since Army of Darkness.
Yeah, 1993, I think that was.
93. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well over 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Over 10 years. But yeah, he definitely wrote this one. He actually wrote it with his brother, Ivan. And It premiered in Cannes, from what I understand, and just blew the French audiences away, and then got to have a worldwide release where it did pretty well. I think it made just under 100 million, which for a horror movie at the time that wasn't Scream, that was pretty good.
Yeah, and pretty low budget here too, from what I understand. At least in terms of budget from the Spider-Man trilogy, moving back into this, $30 million budget on this. So even, I mean, for a studio horror, that's about average 20 to 30.
Yeah.
But going from, probably 100 million, pretty close to that for the Spider-Man trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so for people who haven't seen this movie, which again, this movie was everywhere for years after it finally hit, video, it was one of the big streaming hits early on. Netflix made a lot of money with the DVDs that they were sending out, but it also was frequently on their streaming service and frequently one of the top viewed movies. But if you haven't seen it, or if it's been a while, I can do a quick plot summary, just a really quick one. So basically, Christine, she's this wonderful, sweet woman who works at a bank, pretty unassuming, has a really sweet boyfriend who's a professor of psychology at the local college. Everything seems to be coming up roses for her. She's got a lot of good stuff going on. She's got a great home, beautiful little kitten, and possibly a promotion at work. But then tragedy strikes when she encounters Mrs. Ganush, who is an elderly woman, very odd looking, but also in dire straits. She is behind on her mortgage payments. She's already had multiple extensions from the bank, and now she's pleading with Christine to give her another extension. Christine makes the choice, because she's got her eye on that promotion, to deny the extension to Mrs. Ganush, who does not take it well. And part of her displeasure becomes a curse laid against Christine. And unfortunately, the curse of the Lamia means that within 3 days, if she can't find a way to stop it, she will be ripped down into hell, where she will spend her eternity suffering the torture of the Lamia and, hell, I guess. That's kind of the basic picture of this, basic framework of this. And so she tries multiple ways to kind of either appease Mrs. Ganush, which does not go well, and for very specific reasons is impossible to do. And then also works with a psychic medium, with with another medium who's had experience with the Lamia curse before, and even tries sacrificing her poor, cute, sweet little kitten. I say succeeds in sacrificing her poor, sweet little kitten, all to no avail. So there you have it. That's the movie in a nutshell.
Drag Me to Hell, a movie that no other movie in history hates its lead character more than Drag Me to Hell.
Absolutely. This poor girl, she has, the curse itself is supposed to be torturous, right? So she's constantly being stalked by this demonic creature that you see in shadows and in, out of the corner of her eye, that throws her around the room, smashes everything about, and just makes life miserable for her. There's one scene even where it causes her to basically just shoot blood out of her mouth and nose, just in the middle of work. The bank manager is like,
Did I get any in my mouth?
Yeah, like, oh my God. Speaking of things getting in mouths, there's plenty of that. So this movie is not for squeamish, for people who have issues with insects and creepy crawlies, or just general slime. There's a lot of it.
It's a Sam Raimi movie. What do you expect? And I think
You're
that's
see some
that's what
stuff.
Yeah, that's what horror fans wanted back in 2009. And I think partially at that point why this movie did so well was Raimi had that cachet from the Spider-Man movies of, I can kind of just do whatever I want now. Like he's talked a lot about how Spider-Man 3 was kind of a miserable experience for him, working with Sony and not making the movie exactly like he had wanted to. I will defend Spider-Man 3 as a really good movie. I think it still holds up even better than what reception was back in 2007 when that came out. So he kind of just could do whatever he wanted. He had carte blanche to make whatever kind of movie he wanted, and horror fans obviously knew him at that point for the Evil Dead trilogy, and he kind of just gave them what they wanted with this one. I mean, this movie really is a sly Evil Dead movie. It has all of those same tropes without a necronomic.
No, there's no deadites here. Although,
yeah, it's got a gypsy cursing someone instead of someone reading from the Book of the Dead.
You know, this has Mrs. Ganush, who, you know, elderly woman of supernatural strength. There's a fight in this between her and Christine in a car that could have been featured on a WWE title bout, because they are both smashing each other in the face. Christine's got a stapler that she uses to just slam staples into her face. She tries to choke her. She tries to gag her.
Shoves a ruler down her mouth.
God, yes. It just, so many things happen here. And Miss Ganush, for her part, tries biting her chin many times, because that is something that Mrs. Ganush does often in this movie.
It's something that I don't blame her for.
No.
You know, like,
no.
she's about to lose her house. She's kind of going crazy. She's at her last... It's her last resort. What do you do at your last resort? You bite the banker in the mouth with your mouth and just ooze whatever liquid is in it.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
I you know, the design of Miss Jones, the makeup that was done to the actress, and I believe it was Lorna Raver, looks nothing like the creature that Miss Ganush is.
Yeah.
Just amazing choices with the makeup. She's got this eye that's kind of dead. It's blackened with sort of reversed colors in it. She's wearing dentures, but the dentures themselves are
rotten.
Like, the teeth are jagged and brown. And I'm like, who made these dentures for you?
Yeah. Are these George Washington's dentures? Are these the one that he wore? Like, that's what they look like. They're so gross.
Yeah, and just sharp and but also, you know, she has this production of phlegm that is astronomical that she makes use of in just any part, anytime, including after her death, which, you know, is inevitable. I mean, obviously, she's had a terrible time in her life. She's had, you know, she has a lot of health problems, and of course, this last fight and this last sort of hysterical attack, plus, you know, spending her magic in a curse, you know, a death curse for this woman, probably resulted in her just not lasting much longer after that. And that is a very interesting scene where Christine finds out that she's no longer alive. Again, involving her mouth being open, landing on her chin, and vomiting copious amounts of slime. But yeah, I mean, there's like a lot of really great scenes in this movie. And I think the characters themselves are very well portrayed. There's not a lot of nuance necessarily.
No, and that's something. So I want to talk about Sam Raimi for a second. That's going to lead into that, talking about the characters, because Sam Raimi is my favorite director of all time. Like, no matter generation, movie genre, anything, Sam Raimi is my favorite director of all time. And it's because at two different points in my life, I fell in love with his two big trilogies. So as a kid, grew up on his Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and just fell in love with them. Made me want to do that, either make a movie or just be Spider-Man. I don't know what it was at that point, but probably both.
Probably both, yeah.
But definitely both. But then in high school, it was discovering the Evil Dead trilogy. And being like, oh, this is what you can do with your friends out in the woods, and you can just make a movie with them where it's just this gross and outlandish and wacky, and you don't need a whole lot of money or anyone's permission to do it. You just do it. And then you build upon that with Evil Dead 2, which is maybe my favorite horror film of all time. Army of Darkness is just pure slapstick horror fantasy masterpiece. Yeah, so I just love Sam Raimi. But I will say, in all of those movies and the rest of his filmography, if there's one thing Sam Raimi is, he is not subtle. He will tell you what his characters are thinking and what their motivations are right away. Even in the Spider-Man trilogy, like, you know like, Spider-Man is Spider-Man from right away in the beginning of those movies. And you know the bad guys are the bad guys right away. Even when there is, like, humanity, especially like with the Doc Ock character, he's not subtle about it. He's very explicit about about it in those movies. And so here everything is pretty much laid out with all these characters completely for us as an audience to take in. So there's no subtlety with really any of them. I just find it funny that the character, our main character, Christine, played by Alison Lohman, I'm curious, do you think she's a good person? Is that the point of the movie?
Yeah, it's definitely a central argument of the movie, where here's a woman who seems to be really good. I mean, on the surface, everything about her is really good. She also, throughout the movie, you find little clues and hints about how she came from a very difficult background. You know, she has an alcoholic mother. She lived on a farm, and potentially didn't have much money. Her father died while she was young. There's a lot of, she was also very fat as a girl. Yeah. And that, created social anxieties and a lot of problems, and sort of made her into a people pleaser. Otherwise, she's also a good person. But there are moments where you have to question that sometimes, where she does make the choice to deny Miss Ganush an extension. Is it morally required for her to do that? No. It's a choice that she can make. It's like a choice that sacrifices some of her potential of getting that position, to getting that promotion that she's been working for, because maybe she won't get it at that point, because the bank is like, hey, you got to save us some money. Or there are other moments where, she talks about where she's first confronted with, you need to sacrifice an animal, or sacrifice like a kitten or whatever. And she's like, but I can't. I'm a vegetarian. Volunteer at a puppy farm. Like, just all these things that, she justifies a lot of her actions by saying, well, but I'm good here. I'm good doing this thing. So if I act horribly this point, it's for I'm owe it, or I'm due it, or something. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. Do I think that the punishment that she receives for not being the most perfect person ever is valid? It's pretty extreme.
Yeah, and I think that's the Sam Raimi humor of it all.
Yeah.
Is that, does she deserve this for denying this, old lady who has missed payments? That's kind of like the only flaw she has against her, at least in the beginning, is that she denies this woman, this old lady, an extension on her payments. Does that make her a bad person? No. But I think that's what Sam Raimi is having fun with and finds humor in, is, no, she's kind of just a normal, everyday human being. But then all this crazy shit starts to happen to her, and that's what makes it funny.
Yeah. It drives it to the extreme. So, whether she's a good person or not becomes almost irrelevant, because
doesn't matter.
She's trying to survive, whatever she can do to survive in these ridiculous, obscene circumstances. But so she'll fight an old lady. She'll knock down, throw down, and fight an old lady. She'll
fight an old lady. She'll kill her cat. She'll then unbury the old lady. She'll dig her corpse up.
Yeah, she'll defile her corpse. Just all sorts of things that she's willing to do. And there are moments, though, there are choices that she makes where she proves that she's actually not a terrible person, that it's not all just a facade. And especially, I think, giving away the curse to somebody. I mean, there's all these opportunities that she could take, including the guy who screwed her over, but she doesn't do that. She refuses to do that because that isn't who she is. She may have stabbed her cat multiple times to kill it in the hopes that it would appease a demon from hell, but she won't curse somebody with the same curse that she has. So, to get out of it,
even though that guy deserved it, I'll say
he did deserve it.
He was awful. Her coworker, who's also up for this promotion, is just the biggest sleazeball, ever. Who steals her paperwork that of projects she's working on, makes her get him lunch, and then says, "Oh, this isn't what I ordered. I ordered no mayo," when he didn't say anything about it.
He's just making her look bad in front of the boss.
Yeah.
And just basically being a jerk, and more or less feels that he's guaranteed that spot now because she's just fallen apart. Physically and mentally, she's falling apart. So he's like, yeah, I'm a shoo-in now. And he just kind of makes it a lock by stealing the project that she's been working on to finance some big company. she's a good person. She's surrounded by some jerks. But there are some, and I do have to say, there are some characters in this that do kind of wobble for me. And chief among them is her boyfriend, Clay. There's something about him at first that makes me think that he's kind of a jerk, or that maybe he's stringing her along. And it could just be it's Justin Long. You know, you kind of have that, especially horror movie Justin Long tends to be an asshole. And here he kind of has those moments, like when they're visiting the seer at the first time, and he's trying to have like a philosophical argument with him about how all of this is bull and, you know, it's all just magical thinking and whatnot. And also there's sort of like that push where we hear his mother doesn't really approve of Christine because she's not good enough. And there's that kind of, you know, question there. It's like, well, does he really believe her? Is he really doing this because he loves her? Or is he just going to like leave her for, you know, some girl who plays tennis who went to Yale? He doesn't. But there are moments where you question that, like, will he? And then he doesn't. And you're like, oh, he's not what I thought he would be.
Then he does something in the third act where I'm like, okay, maybe he's just kind of a passive dickhead, where he's like hardly in the third act at all. Clay kind of just disappears from the movie for a good chunk of it, especially like two big set piece wise. He's just not there. Like, he's not there during the seance that they hold.
Nope.
And then he's not there when but paid for it. So he'll pay for it. But it shows, does he really believe her? I don't think he ever believes her until he watches her get dragged to hell in the final shot of the movie. I think that's the only time he believes her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're kind of a sleazeball. You don't believe.
Like, he doesn't believe her, but he also doesn't leave her. You know, he's still like, you know, here's your 10 grand. If it makes this go away, great. I still want to go on vacation with you and marry you. Like, he bought the ring and brought the ring with him. So he was all prepared.
Is he doing it for the right reasons? I don't know. We don't ever know. Is he just trying to like push back at his parents? Because like his parents are kind of nose up in the air, snobby. Is he trying to go exact opposite? I'm going to marry this super down to earth farm girl. I don't know. It's also the Justin Long thing. I don't know if I trust this guy.
Yeah. If he's not playing like a goofball, then he's got to be a dick.
Yeah.
Like, that's
he's got to be a dick.
The two modes of Justin Long. He's a favorite. I mean, he's definitely a great actor, and I just love seeing him and stuff. But yeah, he is a Scream King. It's great.
Where do you think? I had this thought watching it this time. First thought that I had was Justin Long. Like, does he ever actually believe her? Is he a dickhead? Also, Sam Raimi wise, I was like, okay, this comes right off the Spider-Man trilogy. Where's Ted? Where's Ted Raimi? I even wrote this with Sam. Where's Ted Raimi? And I was kind of like, is he in this movie at all? I'd watched this maybe like 2 years ago, and I'm like, I don't think he's in this at all. And he's not. And I'm just wondering, where is Ted Raimi, and why wasn't he like the bank manager? Like, that's where Ted Raimi should have been.
Yeah, I think that would have been a perfect, or possibly even the other guy who's up for the promotion. I personally think that that Ted Raimi, his alter ego is Lorna Raver, and he actually is playing Mrs. Ganush. But probably not. I mean, he could be in many of the scenes. Obviously, there is a stunt double who's doing the kind of crazy stuff that Ganush is doing.
There's a stunt double. I don't know if there's any fake Shemps in this, though.
I did notice there is one big scene where it's not a stunt double and it's not the actors. It's actually a very large puppet that has been stuffed full of live maggots, worms, and slime. And that is, I think, the first nightmare sequence. It's so disgusting. Christine wakes up in bed and she looks over and there's Mrs. Janusz there. She climbs on top, basically opens up her mouth and just vomits all this gunk, everything all over her face, into her mouth, everything. Yes, those were live. Those were live maggots, actual worms. Slime is slime, so I'm sure it was maybe non-toxic, hopefully. But it is confirmed that was real. But it's also a puppet, so they were able to reload it multiple times to make multiple takes.
No wonder Alison Lohman stopped acting pretty much right after this.
Yeah, she was done. She was done with acting.
She likes to hang around real life maggots now.
Yes. Very literally, yes. There are two other main characters in this, both the seer as well as a medium who we're first kind of introduced to very briefly in the prologue in the beginning that takes place in 1969, where she's trying to save, a little child of some Mexican immigrants who had stolen a necklace from some gypsies and was cursed. But she fails to save him. And so, of course, like that becomes her life mission, is to end the Lamia curse.
Amazing cold open where you see the shadow of this little boy, like maybe 10-year-old boy, just getting dragged to hell. And it's him screaming in terror. And you just see the silhouette of him getting pulled into hell. And it's like perfect tone setter, by the way. And I watch so many Indonesian horrors. And for some reason in Indonesia, all of their filmmakers, they love Sam Raimi. You watch any Indonesian horror film, you're like, these guys grew up on Evil Dead and love Sam Raimi. You watch any of those movies and you're like immediately, Sam Raimi's their favorite director. And you can see those influences through this movie of what they might have pulled from. Because that's totally a shot you'd see in a Indonesian horror flick from like 10 years later. And again, Sam Raimi just influences people constantly. I mean, I think he is one of the most influential horror directors. And I mean, the entire Marvel universe exists because of Sam.
Because he proved that you can make a big name superhero movie and have it work and have it be a blockbuster hit.
And have him wear the cool costume.
Yeah. Be more or less comics accurate in the way that they appear and, some of the things that they do. Because before that you had Blade. Blade looked awesome. It was great. But you also had X-Men, which was a whole bunch of really cool people who were embarrassed to be superheroes and filmmakers who were embarrassed to show them as superheroes, really. No, Sam Raimi, there's just so much that he brings to the table. And this movie, if you were not to know who directed it and were told just to guess, I think most horror fans would say, like, there's something Sam Raimi-ish about this. Something is screaming. And, you look at more recent filmmakers like Lee Cronin, who, of course, did an Evil Dead movie, but his recent Mummy picture, it looks and feels like a Sam Raimi movie because that's the main influence of Lee Cronin. Not that Lee Cronin doesn't have his own things going on, but there's so much there that's like.
It's the same for Fede Alvarez when he made the Evil Dead remake, and it's like everything kind of since then still has that a little bit of like at least a Raimi ingredient to it. Also, like Raimi can do any genre. And I think that's something people forget. Like, he's made a baseball movie. He's made dramas. He's made a Western. He's made a really goofy, low-budget superhero movie, Darkman. Like, he has done every single genre you can think of. Sam Raimi's touched.
Well, I mean, his most recent one, I think was it Send Help was his last one that he did? Yeah. That one, it's not supernatural in any way. But there's the gore, there's the humor, the constant humor that's there behind even the most desperate scenes in the movie. Like, you can just see, like, he's got a little smirk going on. Like, the whole time, you can just tell there's something a little bit more tongue in cheek about this.
Yeah, and in Sam Raimi horror movies, this is kind of one of the biggest tropes besides like the goop and the gore and some of the camera tricks. Character-wise, there's always one consistent in Sam Raimi horror. If you look at the Evil Dead movies, Drag Me to Hell, I would throw Send Help in there, survival horror. He does not care about character arcs. Characters from the beginning of the movie, bunch of shit happens to them. They are the exact same person by the end of the movie. And I think that's just from working and being best friends with Bruce Campbell, where it's like, Ash Williams is just Bruce Campbell, but fighting evil, demonic deadites. It's the same character. There's no difference between Ash Williams and Bruce Campbell. And I think he's carried that over into Drag Me to Hell, where your characters just don't change. Like, Christine doesn't have a character arc in this movie.
No. She starts kind of nice. I mean, she starts nice and bubbly. Horrible shit happens to her. And then she thinks it's over. And so she's basically the same person back again. Things are going her way. Things are pretty happy. She's getting the promotion. Her nemesis at work has been fired. She sees something pretty and she's like, you know what? I'm going to buy something pretty for me. Like, it's just, she's no different.
Back to status quo, and then Raimi pulls the rug out from under it and has one of the best endings of all time. He does that in Send Help, where there's no character growth for Rachel McAdams' character in that movie. Like, she just kind of just gets a little bit worse, but no morality is learned from that character at all. Same here. Christine is not making very good moral choices in this. She kills her cat. She digs up a body. She tries to pass off the curse onto someone else. She's not making great moral choices here.
No. Some of it you could say it's like it's out of desperation, you know, because if you're being told that like you will die in 3 days and those 3 days are just going to be awful, and then you go to hell, that, you know, maybe she would be making bad decisions, trying anything to, you know, to get out of it. And Christine's a nice girl who hasn't done anything super desperate in her life. And so she doesn't really know what to do. And when it's over, she's back to being herself. But I think this film, it's a fun popcorn movie for sure. Like, you can watch that. Well, maybe don't eat popcorn while you're watching parts of it. But it's definitely it's likable. The characters are, as much as I hate to admit it, are probably kind of relatable in a way. The effects are wonderful. I think Greg Nicotero was on the effects team for this, so it doesn't surprise me that some of it's extra disgusting.
Some of the 2009 CGI isn't the best, but also like it's a Sam Raimi cartoonish horror movie anyway, so it's kind of okay.
Yeah. It is, and it is a kind of a cartoon. There's brightly colored, like things are vivid, you know, sometimes a little oversaturated, but that's done on purpose. Like, this is not a dark, shadowy, gritty horror movie. This is loud and bright and goopy. Very, like, the texture is very slimy on this entire film. It's just fun. It's fun to watch. And I think that's one of the things that I liked about this movie so much.
I always forget how quickly this turns into madcap Sam Raimi. Like, it's as soon as like you get elements of it, like it's gross when the gypsy, she takes out her teeth and sets them and like chews on a candy and there's still like saliva and it's just gross. But immediately after the kind of like setup to the movie where Christine denies the extension on the loan, you get the parking lot scene and you get the madcap fight in the car, and that's like 10 minutes into this movie.
Oh yeah.
It's
10 minutes.
Crazy.
She slams the car like from, you know, into the back wall, into the front, into another car to launch. You know, it's crazy. It's wild. It is wild what happens in that. There is also a great other madcap cartoony moment, and that's when Christine is trying to get together all the money that she needs to pay off the medium.
Yeah.
And she's in like the garage or the shed, and, you know, she's gathering all this stuff up, including her ice skates. And Mrs. Ganush appears and like slams her against the wall and sticks her whole arm down into Christine's mouth. And Christine at that moment looks up, and there's an anvil just tied up directly above this woman's head. An actual cartoon anvil. It's Wile E. Coyote all of a sudden, and she uses her ice skates to slice the rope, and it just goes right down, smashes into Ganush's head, launching her eyes. Of course,
launches her eyes into Christine's mouth.
It's a cartoon. It is a cartoon.
Also, that is a total Evil Dead 2 homage, because when she like pulls the curtain back, you see like there's outlines of where everything is supposed to be. Of like there's like a nail gun on the wall, and you see like there's an outline of where the nail gun is supposed to be hung up. Like that's an Evil Dead 2 thing, because that's where the chainsaw is. They do that with the chainsaw. It's just outlined on the wall where the chainsaw is supposed to hang.
It is, well, and the eyeball itself also being launched out of the head. That's another Evil Dead reference there. It is just a wild, wild movie. There's also some like fun little things in here that I noticed about the homes, the houses. This is one of those movies that the locations are just perfect Hollywood locations. So you've got like Christine's house, which I actually looked it up because I recognized it. It looks like several other homes that I've seen in other horror movies. Her house, which is located in Echo Park, was in the movie Blue Streak and in the movie Training Day. So it was like a trap house, basically, in both of those situations. And then also the medium's house, which is that beautiful sort of mansion castle thing, at least the exterior. That one is in LA, and it was used in The Princess Diaries, Catch Me If You Can, Flowers in the Attic, and of course, Spider-Man 3, which is where Raimi got it, or at least was able to scout it previously and was like, hey, we got to use this exterior again because it is pretty cool. So I love seeing those kinds of places that are not backlot, that they're somewhere out there in LA in the Valley. It's like these things actually exist and they pop up often in movies filmed out there.
Did you notice another Evil Dead reference right away in the beginning of the movie where what car Mrs. Ganush is driving?
It's the yellow, I'm terrible with cars, but yeah, isn't that the same car from Evil Dead 2?
Yeah, it's
Sam
Raimi's, the classic is his nickname for it. It's Sam Raimi's high school car that they drove at the beginning of the first Evil Dead. So that's the car that Bruce Campbell is in the first Evil Dead when they're driving down to the cabin. It's his car in the second movie, Bruce's. Ashes. It's the one that falls into medieval times.
Right. Oh,
it's Uncle Ben. It's Uncle Ben's car in the Spider-Man trilogy.
Oh my God.
So it's in every. It makes a cameo, I think, in every Sam Raimi movie because it even shows up in Multiverse of Madness.
Is it the actual same car? Somebody's maintaining it somewhere in a prop garage, or is it just like the similar model?
I think
I'd be curious.
The actual physical car. It's Raimi's car still.
Wow. That's really
so.
Cool.
Like in Multiverse of Madness, it's like in one of the alternate realms, and it's like floating or falling in the sky or something.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, now I have to rewatch all of those movies and see
you just gotta. It's the Alfred Hitchcock thing of like there's Hitchcock in the background. There's the classic in the background.
So this movie, for as popular as it was, there have been like people screaming or scrambling for a sequel. And back in 2019, Raimi was interviewed and asked about, like, will you ever make a sequel? And his response was like, I don't think I can because Christine's dead. Like, the director is like, yeah, she went to hell. She's dead. So I don't know how you can make a sequel out of that. But a few years later, it started popping up that he was developing a new script to possibly start production on Drag Me to Hell 2. That was in 2023. There haven't really been any updates since like 2024, 2025, because I think they were originally shooting for a release this year. But it's out there. If we do get a sequel, what would you like the sequel to be about?
I think Raimi's talked about it a little bit on the press tour for the new Evil Dead. At least like someone's been like, are you doing a sequel to Drag Me to Hell? And it's probably the same thing of, I have ideas for it. My idea for it would just be, let's tie it into the Evil Dead movies. Like people have already talked about how much this is basically an Evil Dead movie. Why not just make that explicit this time around? By the end of the movie, when we have the giant seance where there's a talking goat at the end, one of the other like side characters, the sidekick who's at the giant mansion, he gets possessed and literally turns into a deadite. Like his eyes look like a deadite. He does like a goofy little dance in the middle of the air. Like that's just a deadite thing. So I think tying it all together is the way to go. I also think you bring Justin Long back. I would say like he has the button now and somehow gets cursed or somehow, or like someone reads from the Book of the Dead about the curse and it reignites his curse and it just ties Justin Long into an Evil Dead movie.
Or how about this? Justin Long finds the Necronomicon, hoping to bring Christine back, and of course, reading from it, releases the Deadites again, but also could then draw the interest of the Lamia, who, we're not really sure exactly what the Lamia is. It's not really totally explained. It looks sort of like a generic creature with cloven hooves, the big goat horns, kind of like like the shadow of Baphomet, basically. You don't really truly see it. I think there's a flash at one point where the seer is kind of, first discovering that Christine is cursed, and there's sort of like a face, a sort of a almost serpentine face that's like screaming, surrounded by fire. But mostly the Lamia just talks through the medium, through the goat, which again, very Evil Dead situation where the goat starts screaming at her and, threatening
Practical
her.
goat too. It's a puppet.
It's a It's so fun. I love that goat. I'm so happy that they didn't kill it. They unfortunately had already killed one kitten in this one.
Yeah, they got rid of the kitten. The goat survives.
Yeah. Oh, and it was that kitten thing, like that's a Sam Raimi setup from the beginning. It's like, here's this cute little kitten, and what book is she reading? How to Sacrifice Animals. It's like, oh, what is she going to do to this cat? And of course she stabs it, buries it in the backyard. Is that blood? Oh no, that's tomato sauce.
Yeah, I was ketchup and I spilled, and I'm like,
Yeah, like
what tomato
okay.
sauce or ketchup is that red?
Man, this movie, it has everything.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to see what do they call that dessert? A harvest pie or a harvest cake with an eyeball coming out of it. You got it in this movie.
Yeah, no, that's unappetizing. I love how the fact that she stabbed it with a fork, though, and then the cake ate the fork. Like, it's just gone. The cake is, the fork is gone after that. But this movie is definitely, it's a cartoon. It's a Sam Raimi cartoon filled with gore, filled with goop. And just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. This ending, though, is an all-timer horror ending. I think it's one of the greatest horror endings of all time. And I think people who even don't like this movie will agree with that. Of like, oh, we kind of leave off on, it's really sunny, it's bright, she's wearing this nice skirt. She's about to embark on her new life with Justin Long. They're at the train station. Mm-hmm. She sees this new jacket and is like, I've always wanted something just like that. I'm going to buy it just for this occasion. She buys it. They're about to begin their new life. And he pulls out the envelope and is like, yeah, I think you have my rare coin that you gave me. This is your button. And she takes it and falls backwards into the train tracks and immediately just gets the floors of the train tracks just open. You see fire coming out and she just gets pulled and dragged all the way to hell as the train comes by.
Oh yeah, her face gets ripped, and so it just leaves a skull in her
like
eyes bulging out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like there's no coming back from that. Like she's gone, she's toast.
And it's just leaves off on a horrified Justin Long's face, cut to black. Where end of movie, drag me to hell.
Yeah, it's that's so good. And I look actually the coin thing, the coin button switch, that was such a wonderful. It's a Looney Tunes setup. Because at the beginning, when she gives him the coin, the camera makes a very big point of watching him put it in the envelope, lick the envelope, close it up. And then when the seer does the same thing with the button, he makes a very big point of like putting it in the envelope, licking it closed, sealing it up, and giving it back to her. And of course, what happens almost immediately after? The car stops short, all of the junk in the car falls onto the floor, and she pulls the wrong envelope. Clay's got his envelope in there. She has the other one. No subtlety whatsoever. And of course, it doesn't reveal anything. She doesn't open up the envelope at any point or even feel the impressions. Like it would be very obvious, like this is a button. It's concave. It's not a coin. But she never does it. And so for the next 20 minutes of that movie, you and her are certain that she's got this button. Well, I mean, most people are certain. The rest of us are thinking like, oh, God, they switched it. And
we haven't talked about the graveyard scene, though, what she does with that button. Because she digs up...
The graveyard.
She digs up that body, and it's like pouring rain, of course, in a graveyard. She digs up the body. She takes the shovel, opens up the coffin. She takes the shovel again, shoves it into the gypsy's mouth, and cranks the mouth open, and just shoves the envelope in her mouth. And then she can't get out. And so, like, she starts clawing her way out, and the grave starts filling with mud and water and dirt, and it's just filling up. And she gets into this really fun fight with the corpse of the gypsy woman, and even recreates, again, another Evil Dead homage. They literally recreate the poster for Evil Dead in this, where she's underwater, she's in the mud, and the hand comes out from the grave. And like, it's literally just the poster for Evil Dead.
Oh yeah, that part of the movie for me, it clicked it checked two of those boxes. One, the Evil Dead, climbing out of the grave, like but then also I had just, here on the podcast, I had Craig Lance on, and we talked about Poltergeist and what happens at the end of Poltergeist. The pool is filled with water. There's corpses popping up all over the place, and she's basically being dragged down by these lifeless things. These are not living. They're not actually attacking her, but they might as well be because she's panicking and everything's filling up with water. And man, if you're in a horror movie and there's like a muddy pit somewhere, don't go anywhere near it because it's going to flood in seconds. So, especially if there are any corpses popping up. But man, it was great. So anyway, like along those lines, talking about these scenes, what was your favorite, like scary moment, gross out moment? You know, what was the biggest scene, the best scene to you?
Watching it this time, the one that I think got the most visceral reaction out of me is when she's in the bank and starts getting a bloody nose, and her boss points it out to her, and then she turns and like it just starts shooting out of her mouth, and she like plugs her mouth and it comes out of her nose. And just his reaction after he says this line twice is like, "Did any get it in my mouth?"
Just, that it was so over the top. That moment was so over the top. I'm like, I don't know whether to laugh or to gag. It's just, it's perfect. For me, oh gosh, I mean, there's a couple really great moments, and all of them happen to have Mrs. Ganush kind of coming out of nowhere and biting her chin and vomiting something into her. But I will have to say that scene, that nightmare scene where she wakes up and Janusz climbs on top of her and starts vomiting all of the bugs and the slime and the puke and the whatever into her mouth, like into her open mouth. And also, you know, that's horrifying and disgusting. It was making me just sort of like feel really queasy. And learning about afterwards that was all practical effects and she was actually getting real maggots in her mouth. That just like, that does it for me. Like right there, whenever I think about it, I have to choke back, you know, because that was, too much, but I loved it. Well, thank you so much for talking about this movie, and having me watch it again for the first time in like 15 years, because there's a lot of good memories to be had with this one.
Yeah, thank you for letting me talk about this one. This one was one of my favorites in high school because it was always on like FX, I think, in like 2011-ish, and like I just feel like it was always on that, and that's where I first watched this movie. And yeah, I just love revisiting it every couple of years. And with the new Evil Dead movie coming out this summer, it was kind of just the perfect time. We're making our way through the Evil Dead series, me and my wife, so it was like kind of watch the unofficial Evil Dead movie too.
Well, that's awesome. And I am definitely looking forward to Evil Dead Burn. And I think there's another one after that that's just been filmed or is just finishing up.
Yeah, coming out next year already, Evil Dead Wrath.
When Rise hit, because there was such a long gap between the Evil Dead remake / semi-sequel and Rise, like you almost wonder, like, will we even get another one? But then, of course, we get Rise. A couple years later, we've got Burn. And then next year, we've got Wrath. Everything's coming up Evil Dead.
Yeah. And I've said this on our podcast many times over on Screams from the Basement. I'll say it here on the Bear Cave of Terror as well. Evil Dead is the greatest horror franchise of all time. With the movies, the television show, I'll throw the comic books in there, the video games in there. The greatest horror franchise of all time.
Wow. I mean, those are pretty strong words. So, you know what? Sam Raimi and all of his co-conspirators in these films, the original Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 to me are kind of like the perfect example of like a do-it-yourself blockbuster hit. You know, it's like, this is how indie films can be made and be made great. So those I love for sure. So, but yeah, thank you so much. Thanks so much for coming. And maybe one of these days we can talk Evil Dead.
Don't twist my arm, Steve. I mean,
Never.
Have you looked at my tattoo? My body's covered in Evil Dead stuff. So I am all for talking Evil Dead.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
I come for you, Christine. You're mine!
You've just listened to another episode of the Bear Cave of Terror, and if you haven't seen Drag Me to Hell, or after listening to us are struck with an irresistible compulsion to watch it again, it isn't streaming through most commercial services that you'd be familiar with, but it is available on the Starz streaming app or through Apple TV Plus Starz, which is an add-on that you can get. It is still available to buy or rent digitally, and you can find, I'm sure, copious numbers of DVDs, Blu-rays, they're out there. It's definitely been one of those movies that has sold a lot in its time. And Casey, if listeners would like to get in touch with you or listen to Screams from the Basement, how would they do that?
Yeah, so Screams from the Basement, we release new episodes every single Friday, alternating between double feature discussions with myself and co-host Sam Lenz, and alternating that with interviews from the industry's finest that help make our screams become nightmares. So yeah, that's every Friday, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or screamsfromthebasement.com.
Awesome. And I'm gonna interject here with one more question for you, because I know this is something that you do on Screams from the Basement, but Drag Me to Hell, what would your double feature be with Drag Me to Hell?
Ooh. I'm going to go with not an Evil Dead movie, just because that's the obvious pick. Because that's too easy. You just pick like Evil Dead 2 and you're like, watch Evil Dead 2 and Drag Me to Hell. Instead, let's go with something with Justin Long. I'm going to say, let's watch a movie right after Drag Me to Hell where something really bad happens to Justin Long. I'm going to go Tusk. We're going to watch Drag Me to Hell and then Tusk. Justin Long survives the end of Drag Me to Hell and has a horrifying ending at the end of Tusk, where it's not a happy ending there either. So you're just going to have a whole night ruined with Justin Long.
Absolutely. But it's not all bad for Justin Long at the end of Tusk. He does get all the fish he wants.
He does.
He does.
He does not get dragged to hell, but I think he has something much, much worse happen to him.
Yes. In any case, if you would like to check out the Bear Cave of Terror, we are on Blue Sky and on Instagram, or you can send an email to bearcaveofterror@gmail.com. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, leave a review, and make sure to subscribe to the Comic Book Bears YouTube channel, because we do post little videos here and there on that as well. A list of sources will be available in the show notes if you'd like to learn more about Drag Me to Hell. And remember, if you're ever cursed by an angry old woman, curse her back. Why not? The worst that can happen is you'll see each other in hell for eternity. Good night, everybody.
You don't want anything else?
No.
So you're just gonna sit here drinking coffee all night long?
Yes. Maybe. What's it to you?
Honey, I make my money on tips. Coffee drinkers don't tip.
Honey, just keep the coffee coming or I'll give you a tip you won't forget.